Good afternoon, Tara.
Hi, Julian. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a lot of snow here these last few days, so I'm really bundled up and like tucked away in the corner of the house where there's like some natural sunlight just being warm. How are you doing?
Great. There's no snow here.
Aw. So I know you from, well, we're friends, but when I first found you, I was struggling with a lot of sinus issues and immune system issues and was looking for alternatives. So I went on Google. This was probably like what, 4 years ago now. And I was typing in allergies and alternative healings, and I found you. And that's when you were living in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And I started coming to you for NATE treatments, and then that developed into readings and channelings. And if you could maybe just start to explain your journey from what you were doing before and even maybe as a nurse to how you were first called to alternative healings and where it has led you to now.
Yeah, sure. So I was a nurse for 12 years and I specialized in pediatrics and psychiatric. So that wasn't fulfilling me anymore. So I had an injury and the medical system wasn't working to heal myself. So I started looking into alternative medicine and ended up taking courses on energy healing, and I did NATE allergy treatment for a while. So I slowly transitioned from nursing into the natural therapy. And then when I was doing the natural therapy, all the stuff that I had kind of shut down from childhood with receiving messages from spirit started to open up again. And of course, at first I ignored it, and then all my clients stopped. So my guide said, if you're not going to give our messages, you're not going to get clients. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I'll give the messages. So I started to, slowly give messages, and I'm still doing natural therapy or healing work um, within, the community in New Brunswick, in Fredericton. And so I did that for a few years, and then it slowly transitioned into trance channeling, which took, when I started doing the channeling of spirit, I wanted to work with the Ascended Masters, because they had been coming to me and saying that we had soul contract to work together. So I had asked them to show me how they were going to be working with me, and that began my process of finding trance channeling. So I had to clear out my chakras with them for about eight or 9 years before I started doing trance channeling. And that's because when I do go into trance and I'm channeling Ascended Master Saint Germain, other Ascended Masters are coming in with different frequencies coming through my chakras to offer to the audience or to the person I'm channeling for, to integrate healing frequencies. And it's always up to them how they receive. So if they wish to receive it for physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, mental pain, whatever it is, it's up to them on a conscious and spiritual level what they're open to receiving. So I never know what they're going to receive, but I'm shown as I'm doing the channel reading, my guides will show me where that person's receiving. So Saint Germain is always the one that translates the message, and I also enjoy working with them because it's always just divine, highest light. I do connect with people who have crossed over, but I'll get Saint Germain to bring them in. And so really, it's like as soon as you book the appointment or come to a group session, your spirit guides start working with my spirit guides, but ultimately it's all one energy and it's all conscious love that we're channeling. So it's because we're human, and we like to have identities and attachments, and we like
Yes.
friends. We kind of choose to play with spirit guides, so it's kind of like having friends on planet Earth, but they're in spirit form. So we're all assigned spirit guides in our lifetime. Whatever you choose to do in your life, spirit guides will come and help you out with that, whether you're aware or not. So everyone can channel, and I teach a channeling course on how to channel, and Saint Germain teaches that course with me, so he'll know exactly where the person's vibrating at, to what they're ready to receive at that time, for how to connect with their own guides, like, wherever they're vibrating at. So if you're a beginner, he'll teach you from where you're at as you're starting out. But if you're an advanced channeler, he'll teach you from there. So it depends on where your vibration is, because we're all vibrational beings, and you receive or your awareness is from where you're vibrating at. So I do the channeled teachings for how to channel, and also consciousness class, which is anything with ascension symptoms or awakening symptoms that you have questions for Ascended Master Saint Germain. He'll assist you with that. So yeah.
Oh, I love it all so much.
I think the question, I kind of went off like.
No, it was actually all that I wanted. So that was great. It was like the full journey, and that is what I asked for. So that was great.
Yeah, it just kind of started to come in where they wanted me to do the trance channeling, where he uses my voice box and my hand movements to speak through me. So when that started, I would put it on YouTube for people to watch his channeled messages. And now at this time, it's starting to accelerate, because there's so many more people awakening, and they're ready to hear his messages. And Ascended Master Saint Germain's working with many, many light workers at this time. It's not just me. It's like there's like thousands of light workers that he's working with. So, if you're feeling drawn to him, or you come across him on the internet, or somebody mentions his name, it's probably because he's wanting to work with you. So call him in, and he's got many messages and gifts of the violet flame. It's what he brings through for healing for people, is this frequency of the violet flame, which is a really high divine light frequency.
Okay.
And it helps with the ascension symptoms. It helps you to awaken to remembering who you are as a conscious being. So, yeah, I guess my message for you is to connect with him directly. Like, so even if you want to go watch videos, like the YouTube videos of him channeling, but you're not comfortable to book a private appointment, you can call him in directly. But he's wanting to connect with everyone. So.
And who is he as an ascended master? Like, if someone were to look up his bio or his history, what is it that he was, and how does he use his healing now with people? You mentioned the violet flame.
Yes, he was. He had many lifetimes on planet Earth as a lot of historical figures that you'd recognize, like Merlin or Francis Bacon.
Cool.
Yeah, there's Joseph, Jesus's father. There was, I don't know. He has a lot of different lifetimes that he's had that led up to what he came to teach now. So he's an ascended master, meaning he has ascended to a higher frequency of divine love, so like a higher dimension. So they come to me from like a 12th dimension vibration. So when he was on planet Earth, his last lifetime, he was named Saint Germain, and he was named it after a town. It's a town, I think it's in France. So he had been named Saint Germain, so he took on that name after he, as Ascended Master Saint Germain. Now, for the past 2,000 years, we had Jesus as the spiritual leader, Buddha, like for the past 2,000 years for humanity during the Piscean age. And now we're moving into the Aquarian age. So when Saint Germain comes to me, he comes to me with with Jesus as well. So it's
Okay.
yeah, they kind of working together, but it's like Saint Germain's the spiritual leader for the Aquarian age, and that's why he's telling me to tell everyone to call him in. Like he's open to work with everyone, just like everyone's worked with or connected to Jesus in the past 2,000 years. So
Okay.
yeah, they come in together. And again, like you pick your spirit guides based on your belief system. So if you were raised in India as a Buddhist, then you'd be calling him Buddha, but it's the same energy. It's just what form would you like to connect with. But the divine love's going to come to you, whichever way you're comfortable with. That's what you'll create in your reality. And when he says to me, I'm like, well, how do you know who your spirit guides are? And he says, well, who do you want to create in your reality? Who do you want to play with? You chose your friends on planet Earth. You can choose your friends in spirit world as
I
well.
love that.
Yeah, and it's our reality, and their vibration is there. And if you match that frequency of love that they are offering to bring in, if you're open, your heart's open to connecting with them, they will be there. He doesn't want you to question whether they're there or not. He says if you're heart centered and you're able to connect with the divine love, we will be connecting with you. There's no question. It's your reality, and their energy frequency. They can. There's no time in spirit form. Like we experience time as linear, where there's past, present, future, but there's no time. So he can be with everyone at the same time in our reality. But yeah, if you want to connect to anybody you're feeling drawn to, it's probably because you're matching, or it is because you're matching that frequency. So if Archangel Michael keeps showing up, then work with him. That means he's there. Like if you're reading about him, hearing about him, it means you're matching his frequency, and he's open to working with you. So they say that we get in our heads and sometimes we'll see the ascended masters as more important, but they're saying we are you, you are us. So they want you to feel worthy of receiving their love and their messages and their healing. And yeah.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. I never thought about it like in that way. Like, well, you are us, so you are worthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Difference. And every time that we integrate something within ourselves, like we're here experiencing the polarities on planet Earth of the dark and light, of everything on planet Earth has an opposite or a contrast. And as we experience that, we learn compassion. So when you experience the deepest darkness, then you'll know the polarity of that in light, and that's when we learn compassion. So if you lose a loved one and you're going through a deep grief, as you integrate that frequency back to love of that grief, you transmute it, you offer that compassion out to the whole universe. So he's saying we receive from you as well as we're teaching them, or it's an equal exchange of energies. So when we're working with the guides, it's always an equal exchange of energies. So it's not like you can ask for too much. He says you can't ask for too much. It's always an equal exchange. He's telling me right now that there's some people that are kind of intimidated or don't feel like maybe my question's silly, or maybe I shouldn't ask this. There's no silly question. Ask it. If
Okay.
yeah, they understand. They don't judge your questions. You can't ask for too much, and you can't ask a wrong question. They're never going to judge it, and they never judge anything that we experience as humans. Like we're here to experience both the dark and light as an experience. We perceive it as struggle, but they don't.
Yes, they're like everything's great. It's supposed to be that way.
Yeah, they're perceiving it as this beautiful experience from a soul's perspective when you go to the deepest darkness, and then you have great soul expansion. And so it's going to those difficult times in our lives where we grow the most on a spiritual level, or expand our consciousness the most.
When you were a child, what was that like, receiving messages? Like, did you see people or hear things or feel things. Because I know for me, my grandmother is gifted in that way as well. So I grew up with like that was a normal conversation, whereas some families are like, you don't talk about that. Like I wouldn't go to school and talk to people that I'm like, I think I know things that I'm not supposed to know. Or I know things before they're happening. Like, I wouldn't just like talk about that openly with people, but like in my family, it was kind of okay to talk about. So, what was that like for you as a child? Like, was that received well? And also, like, how did the spirit guides contact you in that way when you were younger?
So for me, it was very taboo. It was like I was raised very Catholic, and my parents did not believe in connecting with spirit. They thought that it would be
Okay.
the devil getting in. So I had to clear a lot with a lot of religious beliefs and stuff. So as a child, it was like I actually heard them different as a child. I heard them as a louder voice of I would see like a vision, but also the voice was a lot clearer, more precise. Like there was no trying to connect. It was just very clear, and it was always right before something would happen that maybe emotionally would be difficult for me because I was so sensitive. So they would come to me and they would say, this is the last time you'll see your grandmother before she passes, but we want you to know that it's okay, and everything's fine. And then it was like they would give me a knowing of not to share that,
Okay.
right? So it was like I knew that it was like something that I was going to keep to myself,
Yes.
but I didn't know why. I just kind of, it was like, so they would always show up, usually at my most difficult times in my life, or at the biggest events, like where something really exciting was about to happen. So I guess it was like when I was when you connect with spirit, like when you're in a really high vibration, they come in really easily.
Hmm.
But with me, it didn't matter. It just like they came, I guess when I needed them the most. Um, and
Aw.
I kind of thought that I think I thought it was just normal.
Yes.
I don't think I never really, I don't know. I just thought it was normal for me. So I just
Yeah.
normal for everyone. The sensitivity, of how sensitive I was to everything, everyone's emotions, like everyone watching this isn't like empathic or sensitive to
Mhm.
energy. So they all understand. Everybody watching this understands what I'm talking about. Is like when you're a child and just being
Yes.
overwhelmed with everything, and it's shutting everything down with addictions. I went into like a lot of addictions through my teenage years and most of my 20s. So now my addictions are gone except for food. I'm still a foodie,
Yes.
but yeah. So as I've come back more in alignment with what I came to do, the addictions kind of just left because they explained to me like addictions, like that feeling. We're trying to get to the best feeling that we can get to, and
Yes.
so our ego tricks us and says, well, if you have this, that'll make you feel better. So if you drink or if you eat or whatever it is, whatever your go-to thing. So our intention is to get to the best feeling place, which is always our spirit's always trying to get closer to the Christ energy or God consciousness or universal energy, source energy, whatever you want to call it. So there's a lot of people, he's telling me right now, there's a lot of people watching this that have had addiction struggle, and he doesn't want you to
Mhm.
judge yourself anymore for it. Your intention was to try to get to a better feeling place. And people with addictions have a lot of creative energy. He's showing me their energy field as very large. And so when you have all this energy and it's like, what do I do with it? Well, he's saying, the addictions calmed you down and grounded you. If I eat this,
Yeah.
I'll feel grounded. He's saying there's a lot of people just kind of stepping out, and it's right now it's to integrate yourself fully into your human body as a spiritual being, integrating into a human body and feeling safe. And when you didn't feel safe, you kind of stepped out and you've got all this energy, and it's like, how can I feel safer? And so the addictions came in. When you create, and he's saying create with anything, sports, art, music, writing, flowers, gardening, whatever, being a mother, whatever creative energy that you have that you're drawn to, if you start creating 15 or 20 minutes a day, your addictions will go like, because then you're using that energy that you've always been trying to calm down. You're using it to create from God source energy. So as you start to create, you connect with the consciousness within you. And so it's like your inner child or your spiritual body is the one that's creating, because you're a co-creator. Your essence is consciousness. As you create, he's saying that the universe, the universal energy, or that consciousness is going to join you and bring through the love into the creation. So if you look at any musician or artist, when they're in their zone, it's their consciousness is connecting with the consciousness of all and channeling that divine love into whatever they're doing. That's why it feels so good. That's why they continue to do it, even if it doesn't pay a lot. It's not about the money. It's about creating. So he's saying a lot of people that are watching this have addiction struggles, and he doesn't want you to view it that way. He wants you to see the greatness within yourself and start, what can I create with? What can I use this energy to create? And he said, and the addictions will just kind of slowly go away. He's saying to ask them for help. They'll help with removing that trying to feel grounded through the addictions, the cravings. He's saying the
Yeah.
cravings will help with that.
Beautiful. That's such a more loving way to look at addiction, is they're just trying to get to a better feeling place. Because a lot of people look at it as like, there's something wrong with me or that person, or they must not care, or like so much judgment, where that's just such a gracious, gentle, loving way of really encompassing that term, is you're just trying to get to a better feeling place, which is true.
Yeah, the intention is always good. And he says it's only you judging you. And
Mm-hmm.
when other people judge you for it, it's a reflection of how you're judging yourself for it. Like, we beat ourselves up so much, and so it shows up in a reality to show us we're judging ourselves. Spirit never judges. He's like, we don't judge any of your addictions. Call us in, and we'll help you with it. And he's saying that there's a lot of people that don't feel worthy of receiving help from their spirit guides because of their addictions, because they're thinking they're getting judged. And he said it's the opposite. He says, call us,
Okay.
going to help you with it. And they don't have any if you have addictions, it just means you're a great creator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really,
Basically, that's kind of what I was getting out of what you were saying as well. Like, if you put that energy somewhere else, imagine what that would look like.
yeah, exactly, Julianne. You said it perfectly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm thinking of like examples of just like people with similar stories, and it's like, well, I had this addiction, and then I turned it into this, and everyone's like, oh, such a big transformation story. And it's like, well, they just really redirected their energy and used it more from a space of creativity, because sometimes you need to get to like that low place, so you just don't like give a shit anymore, and then you start being more yourself, because you're like, well, I already did, like, I already felt shitty, so I might as well just try something else. And then it's really, you're just becoming more yourself.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Good way of looking at it.
You said it.
Um, for like for me, I have like kind of, I guess, my own definition of awakening and how that feels and what that looks like in my own life, or if I were to explain it to someone else. How would you define awakening? Or if there's people watching and listening to this that are like, I think I have some symptoms or I have some things going on. Is that awakening or is that just something else? Like maybe they're questioning. So, how would there be kind of like a clear, helpful way to define what awakening is?
Okay, so when you realize that everything outside of yourself is no longer making you happy. So that's how it usually starts.
Everyone's
So
like, shit.
yeah, it's like so we're, uh as humans, we're in a third dimension reality, which is a reality that's run by the ego consciousness. So the ego consciousness is, um, its job is to keep us living in fear. And so when you're awakening, your spirit says, I'm tired of living in fear and being worked up about things all the time and always seeking to find happiness outside of myself. So the ego says, buy this, that'll make you happy, and you buy it. And then a week later, you need something to buy something else because it's like an illusion of joy that it can never be satisfied, it can never be
Yes.
fulfilled. So the ego always keeps us chasing. And now, the actual planet's vibrational frequency has raised to more love, and so we can connect with more love. And when we connect with more love, our spirit is love, and our spirit says, okay, I'm tired of the fear-based ego game in the third dimension. I would like to run the show instead of having my ego keeping me live in fear. I'm tired of pleasing people, I'm tired of chasing things and never being happy. I'm tired. So it's like, it's when you awaken, it's that your spirit's getting louder than your ego. And
Okay.
the ego isn't something to be judged, or because the ego comes from God consciousness as well. So it's universal energy, and it's here to play the game of the polarity of your love. So when you have the ego running the show, there's always struggle, or your perception is that there's struggle, there's suffering. But when your heart or your spirit runs the show, you see everything as perfect, as love, so it's, you're moving from a perception of ego perception to a heart-centered perception. That's the awakening. You're moving from a third dimension reality, perceiving everything in fear and struggle and
Mm-hmm.
suffering, to a fifth dimension reality where your perception is that your everything is love and imperfection, and so that you don't get triggered by it's like, how can I see this in the eyes of love instead of the eyes of fear? So when, for example, you brought up the weather today. So when our mothers call and say, oh my god, the roads are treacherous, the snowstorm's coming, you need to be in fear. Saint Germain says, why would you be scared of a snowflake that melts on the tip of your finger? It doesn't really make sense. What if you saw it as something beautiful and perfect? Would it be scary?
Yeah.
What is the fear of the snowstorm when it's simply a snowflake that melts when you touch it? Like it's not anything more than that, except for if your perception makes it bigger. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, as you begin to awaken, your perception changes so that you're not stuck in this fear-based energy. As you begin to awaken, your ego says, I don't want you to awaken. I want you to keep you living in fear. So it seems like your ego gets louder, but it's not that it's getting louder. It's because you're becoming more aware. You're becoming
Mm-hmm.
more aware of who you are as a conscious being. And then once you realize that your essence is consciousness and that you're connected to everything, then you're empowered to change. So once you realize that you are the creator of your reality, then you have the power to change your reality. But when
Yeah.
your ego perception of fear, it's thinking that everything's outside of you and that things are happening to you. When you awaken, things happen for you. And so
Yeah.
it's changing that perception, and then it's saying, oh, I take full responsibility that I created this. And that's not blaming yourself, but it's perceiving it in a different way. It's like, oh, I created this to happen so that I could expand in a different way, or expand my
Mhm.
consciousness, and not seeing it as struggle or something bad. Like, so if I have an illness, I don't perceive it as something bad. I perceive it as an emotion that's coming up to be loved. And as I love it, it goes away. I don't need to go to the doctor. I can just love it and it goes away. So,
Awesome. It kind of like referred back to like, or it could also be applied to the addiction sense, where it's like you realize something outside of you isn't pleasing you or isn't giving you that joy that you're looking for. So you have to use your creativity or go within and make that your new reality, because that's actually going to fulfill you, not what's outside of you.
yeah, that's yeah, that's perfect.
Your classes, do they have to be in person or do you do online ones? And how can people book sessions with you?
I have online classes, and I keep them one-on-one so that you can get it directly for you for what you need to hear. And so I do an hour how to channel class. It's $85, and we do it by Skype, FaceTime, yeah, Skype or FaceTime. And I also do telephone readings by Skype, telephone, or FaceTime. And if I do telephone, it's in Canada, and then all the other ones you can do anywhere in the world. But there's 2 classes that I teach online, and if you go on my website, um, it's www.taraarnoldart.com. And if you go
Thank
on
you. I was just gonna
my
ask.
website, maybe you put it at the end of the video or something, or underneath it. So if you go on my website, you'll see courses, and there's 2 ones that I teach online: consciousness course, and that's for the awakening or ascension. And then there's my YouTube channels are on there, and also for my readings, I have a medical intuitive reading. So if you have any medical stuff, I work with Ascended Master Saint Germain. He shows me the any medical issues, and then they bring through healing frequencies to heal those, like to go to the root cause of the root emotion of the cause of the illness. So, and that can come through Skype or FaceTime. It doesn't, internet doesn't matter, or in person.
Hmm.
And then I do like one if you want to connect with spirit guide that crossed over, or if you want to just talk to the Ascended Masters and talk to Saint Germain. And trance channeling, I do a trance channeled reading as well. So those are all on my website. My readings are $100 for a 1 hour reading. And I also do local workshops here in Mahone Bay and Bridgewater, in small group workshops. They're really fun.
Mhm.
And so those are listed on my website as well.
And what is your YouTube channel? Is it Tara Arnold?
Yeah, it's Tara Arnold, Tara.
Mhm.
And it's Channeling Saint Germain. So if you type in Channeling Saint Germain or my name, you'll find it on YouTube.
Great. I'll add that in with the notes as well. Any final messages that you want to share, or words of wisdom or information to anyone? Anything else you want to share before we go?
I just want to say I appreciate Julianne. I appreciate you interviewing me, and you're a beautiful spirit and soul. And
Thank you.
yeah, I feel quite honored to be part of your podcast today. And I also want to say that everyone that's watching this is amazing, magnificent, great. And Saint Germain's saying it's time to step into your greatness. It's time to show who you are. It's time to, um, you know, be who you came to be. And that's finding yourself, um, as consciousness and showing the world your gifts and your talents, and you're all amazing. It doesn't matter how much you've judged yourself. We're all equal. And so he's sending everyone out there a lot of love. Also, he's telling me that through this video today, he brought through frequencies for the third eye. So after watching this, you might have more clarity, more awareness. I'll just ask him if there's any other ones. Just one second. Like the crown chakra, third eye, and the throat chakra. So some of you that are watching might feel a little raspy in the throat. It's because they brought through healing energies for throat chakra, third eye, and crown. The crown chakra is your connection to the divine, and also the brain, spinal cord, the ego. And then the third eye is your intuitive abilities, so more clarity, more awareness. And so also like sinuses, eyes, anything to do with eyes, ears, sinuses. If the third eye is blocked, that's where the kind of symptoms you'll get. So you might feel some clearing. And then the throat chakra, it's having a voice or speaking your truth. So it's so those are the
clearing my throat a lot during this, so I was like, definitely throat chakra.
Yeah, and I was just explaining, because we were saying that through the internet you can receive healing frequencies, and so so today that's where he was bringing them through. So yeah, that's how it works. So
awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me, and I'll talk to you again soon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy Nova Scotia.
Thanks, Julian.